went down that
Yeah.
road, and I know a lot of people struggle with this, and a lot of coaches struggle with this for their athletes, but it's something I always try to convey to my students, and I use throughout my career, and I've heard you say is, where do you draw the line between adding the what if scenarios on top of each other versus bringing it back down to our base level of just we got to get back to the basics and strengthen the foundation versus continually adding on new moves and new processes and different techniques
Mm.
to really build a player up.
Um, there's two ways you can go with accumulating knowledge in any combat sport. You can go with breadth of knowledge, where you try to learn a little bit about a lot. And you can go with depth of knowledge, where you try to learn a lot about a few things. The general pattern in combat sports is this. In order to defend yourself from the huge number of possible attacks that your opponent can bring upon you, it's important that you have breadth of knowledge. You have to know a little bit about a lot. Because if I know even a little bit, I can anticipate an attack coming. And anticipation is always the first line of defense. If I can see what the beginnings of an armbar looks like, even if I have a lousy armbar, I can see the setup, I can avoid it. So as far as defense goes, knowing a little bit about a lot is a huge benefit. But when it comes to offense, the exact opposite is true. Then you've got to select a small number of moves and have a huge amount of knowledge about those small number of moves. That's why my coaching style is always built around offensive systems. Essentially, I really teach 6 different submission holds, and I build extravagant systems around those 6. When one of my students gets into a battle over one of those submission holds, whether it be Kimura, a heel hook, or what have you, they know so much more in that isolated domain than their opponents that even when they've only been training 4 or 5 years and their opponent has 20 years, the amount of knowledge they've accrued and the amount of experience they've accrued in that one specific position is vastly greater than that 20-year veteran has. And so what we do is we create these knowledge wars in isolated areas where we have vastly more knowledge and skill in those isolated areas, even if we're less skilled overall than the opponent.